So guys, with Renegades being roughly a little over 2 months away now, obviously with it releasing on the 2nd of December of this year, today I got a video going over my main key points and things that I think that Bungie should be getting correct with this next expansion. Obviously with the Edge of Fate launch, there were some good things and some bad things, and then with Ash and Iron, there were way more bad things than actual good things in that release. So today we're going to go over the main things that I feel like Bungie definitely needs to nail down with this next expansion launch. First off, obviously need to mention the obvious things here. The leveling system needs to be completely nailed by the time that Renegades comes out. Can't have people complaining about how bad the leveling in the game is. Now I know there are plans to add some adjustments, probably hopefully fingers crossed before Renegades comes out, in the terms of I believe they're changing it so that bonus drops actually grant more power. So that'll be a good change, but generally just getting the leveling system down is going to be very important for Renegades, due to the fact that with Renegades launch, everyone's going to be reset back down to 200 power if you are anywhere above 200, which is going to negatively affect people very hard, because a lot of people in the Destiny community don't really want to have their stuff reset. This is basically no different though to if the power level was to increase, you'd still need to grind up levels to then get to that new cap. So for me, it's not really that big of a deal. One thing that will be very good to see, what I really want to see, is the fact that if we start off the campaign at 200, if we could end the Renegades campaign at around 300 power, I feel like that would be amazing. With the Edge of Fate expansion, obviously we started off at 10 power, and then we leveled up. I believe if you did the Legendary campaign, you got all the way up to roughly 200 or 100 power, I believe. So if we could get another 100 levels within the Renegades campaign, going from 200 to maybe 300 by the time we complete it, that would be preferable, because then it means that those who have invested time start at 200, get through the campaign at 300, and then only need to grind up really to 400 power in order to then start getting some decently high tiered drops. And then if they want to, they can progress even further to 500 power once the second major update of the year releases a couple months down the line after Renegades drops. This is going to be probably the most important thing that Bungie needs to get down, and I really do hope that the leveling system is of course nailed by the time Renegades launches. Next, let's talk overall story. Obviously, we know that this is going to be a Star Wars themed expansion, and we've already seen from the Vidoc that there's going to be some hints to past Star Wars films. Obviously, we have the new Cabal Legion that's based off the Stormtroopers. We've got the Praxic Order being our Jedi of this expansion, and whilst the story itself is something that I'm not really worried about, the main thing here is in terms of gameplay, as there was a lot of feedback for Edge of Fate with people being bored out of their minds during the main story, due to the fact you had to transform into a Matter Spark ball for most of the campaign, and most people really didn't like that. Now it seems that we're not going to be getting these Kepler-like abilities for this expansion, and are instead being given Renegade abilities, which are these basically cool-ins similar to, or like stratagems I should say, similar to Helldivers, where you can spawn in like a speeder or a ATST or something like that, or like an airstrike or turrets. So if we could be using those throughout the campaign, I feel like that would be quite cool. Or if we just went back to not having anything like be the new theme of the week for story missions, and just have really fun, interesting story beats played throughout normal satisfying Destiny gameplay, I feel like that would be really nice. Now obviously I don't want to be seeing huge Star Wars elements. Obviously it's a Star Wars themed expansion, so we should expect a little bit of Star Wars thrown in, but I feel like what we've seen so far in terms of the Star Wars references has been good, and I really don't want Bungie to like over push into the Star Wars aspects. Like I don't want to be seeing some certain Star Wars characters being brought into the story or anything like that. Please keep it Destiny themed and like all that, but then just throw in like a little like hint or nod to Star Wars at the very least would be completely fine. Next, let's go over the actual thing that I'm most excited about with this expansion, and that is the potential return of factions. Now, if you've played Destiny 1, you obviously know that there were factions back in that game, New Monarchy, Future War Cult, and Dead Orbit, and they were fine. They weren't really anything too crazy. They were just added little benefits that you could go and do, rank up, get some rewards, and they were all pretty much liked. When Destiny 2 launched, though, they did a whole refresh of how factions worked and changed it into like this weekly event type thing, which nobody really liked. You could only align with one faction, and then you would have to stick with that faction for the week to then get the rewards. I really hope that they learn from the mistakes of faction rallies with these new syndicate factions, or criminal factions, whatever they end up calling them. I really just want them to go back to the D1 way of how these factions worked, where you just aligned with one and then passively throughout just playing anything in the game, you're able to rank up and get some cool, unique cosmetics. One thing that I really want them to add back is unique cosmetics for these different factions. We obviously can see them in the Vidoc, and they all have this unique vibe about them. So if we can get like a unique armor set for each of them that has like theming of the Fallen faction or the Cabal or the Vex, that would be amazing. Also throw in some shaders and emblems as well, and you've got a winner there, Bungie. That would be absolutely great. That's just a bare bones basic thing there. Now, I think they did mention in the live stream that you're going to get some specific missions from these different factions. So maybe you go into the new seasonal activity and get some rep towards these different factions, like a main way of leveling them up. Don't really know much about that. And they will, of course, be found in the new social space, Farsis, which does look very, very cool. So fingers crossed that these factions actually get added in a meaningful way and aren't just another, like, basic thing that we got. I knew that they removed, I think it was the faction reputation reward tracks for both Gambit, Crucible and Vanguard. I really don't want these factions to just end up being what those were, so fingers crossed that this faction system does actually have some meaning behind it and some actual decent rewards tied to it as well. Next, let's go over probably the biggest thing that Bungie needs to get right here, and that is the lightsabers, or what they're calling the Praxic Blades. Now, they did say during the livestream, I believe, that they will be highly customizable in both gameplay and looks, so like aesthetics and stuff. And Bungie, with the recent backlash over the Eververse store, I'm really hoping that you do not tie cosmetics for the lightsaber into the Eververse store. There's literally a dungeon coming out with this expansion, which is tied to the Dredgen, who does have a lightsaber that we see inside of one of the gameplay trailers. So I really hope that the red lightsaber color at least comes from that dungeon. And then when we get a lightsaber, maybe from like a post-campaign quest, we are at least given a little bit of customization options in terms of choices and like parts that we can use to make our own sabers. Maybe incorporate some of the factions that we're adding in as well. So maybe if you choose to align with the Vex faction, you get like some Vex looking parts. If you choose to align with the Fallen faction, you get a more like scrappy mechanical type vibe for your lightsaber. And then obviously with the lightsaber colors, just have them be like fully unlockable, like you can just pick whatever color you want, maybe for free, and maybe unlock some more unique colors like red, purple or whatever, just by doing some different challenges in the game, maybe by doing something within a new seasonal activity, or like I said with the dungeon, that would be fine. Now, one thing that was mentioned on their website is that you'll actually be forging this, I believe, through the dungeon. Now, they don't straight up say that you'll be getting your Praxic Blade from the dungeon, but if that is the case, I'm really not a fan of this, just because the dungeon is going to be most likely time gated. And what that means is that you probably won't be able to get your lightsaber day one of the expansion, which is going to suck for a lot of people. Some people are literally going to see a gameplay trailer of you wielding a lightsaber and they're going to be like, okay, I'm logging in day one and I want to get a lightsaber. Allowing them to do that is going to be a very good idea. You can add some customization options and maybe some upgrades to the lightsaber within the dungeon, but I would highly recommend not time gating the acquisition of the lightsaber behind the dungeon. Obviously, cosmetic wise, go crazy with adding stuff to the dungeon, but in terms of just getting the saber, do not lock it behind the dungeon, which will probably come out probably a couple weeks or a week after the actual expansion launches. And that's pretty much all I have to say in my hopes for this Renegades DLC. Obviously, in the coming weeks and months, we should be learning more about the expansion. I'm honestly not expecting to learn too much more or get some major announcements probably until the very last day or day of the expansion. Maybe they throw in one more live stream maybe the week before or something like that. That would be nice. Maybe show us a little bit about what the second major update's going to be about. Stuff like that would be nice, but I'm not really expecting anything other than maybe a blog post or two between now and Renegades release. So that's just my thoughts on what I'm expecting and what I hope to see within Renegades, and be sure to leave yours down below in the comments. And whilst you're there, if you enjoyed this video, if you could leave a like and subscribe to the channel, I would very much appreciate it. But with that all said, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one.